Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Olo and I have a big topic to talk about today. Thanks to the Tokyo Game Show of 2022, we had our new trailer for Update 2, which also featured a lot of new information and some big reveals, such as the roadmap secret, which seems to have finally been revealed. Those powered up monsters they were referencing, it would seem these are the new Risen monsters. These Risen answer the concept of what is an afflicted Elder Dragon. Risen seem to be more than just a afflicted monster, so Blood Blight and Anomaly cores. They're both mechanically and lore updated versions of the concept. Risen are apparently monsters that have overcome the Curio infection. Rather than be afflicted by them, they use the Curio to their advantage, much like OG Malzeno, and with that, that's what's earned them the title of a Risen. I find that a satisfying but very familiar concept when we look back at Monster Hunter 4 and the Frenzy virus. Thankfully, these Risen sound a bit more impactful on the meta than say afflicted Elder Dragons would be. Being more than just dropping new afflicted parts, it looks like we've got entirely new equipment with these, which will surely come with new skills to shift the meta. So to say the least, we have some things to discuss when it comes to Risen monsters and how they're a bit more than afflicted Elder Dragons. The concept of Risen itself is very familiar, as I just mentioned. A monster that's overcome its previous affliction, originally meant to control it, but then it uses it for its own purposes, which makes it stronger. That sounds like Monster Hunter 4 and 4U Frenzy monsters, which yes, overcame the Frenzy to use it for themselves, becoming stronger and turning into what was called a Frenzy Apex, aka Apex monsters. That's a familiar name, isn't it? And maybe why old fans of the series could have been a bit confused and surprised to see Apex monsters back in Rise, but they were something totally different. In general, I found Apex monsters in Rise to be, well, disappointing. Not only were they simplified versions of older monster deviants, but they didn't have any equipment tied to them, like no weapons or armor. On the other hand, 4U's Apex monsters were much more relevant to the game, affecting meta with their own sets and skills that were attached. And really, that's what Rise's Apex monsters they should have been. However, it looks like with the Risen, they're addressing that issue and that criticism and using a familiar concept to make it happen. It would seem that Elder Dragons are specifically the ones to overcome affliction though. So my question is, are they going to be the only monster type to actually do that? And will all of the Elder Dragons in Rise eventually get their own Risen version? That'd be a lot of content. But let's stop wondering and look at what we actually know and look at Risen Chameleos. What does it do beyond normal Chameleos? Well, visually it looks awesome. This is the official render that gives us a proper look at the details of it. It looks tinged with orange with an inner heat or glow that seems to be burning from the inside, trying to break out. Reflected as it burns away at the wings, the tail, the scarring on the arms, and even the chest. This doesn't look like all that comfortable for the monster. Now, much like the original concept of Chameleos, it's still going to create a cloud to cloak itself within, still moving with invisibility to ambush or surprise you, but with new explosive intent. There's this new concept of explosive power tied to the base moves, like how we see this cloud of poison suddenly blasting out after a tail slam. That appears to be indicated by fire that looks to be centered on Chameleos' chest, heating up like the very heart is going to explode. It must be that fire that gives you the warning that this explosive attack or other ones are about to occur. In the cinematic, it looks like Risen Chameleos is charging up and entering a fire form at one point, which was suggested in the extra details. They specifically state there that it will use both new moves and forms, so that hints that there might be more than one form here. Sadly, that is it though. It's like 3 tiny clips with small bits of info to work on. That's about all we can wean from it, but mechanically, we can see that there's a new form and the new fire aspect to its attacks, which it's using in combinations with a lot of potential. It's a really clever concept, so I hope there's many more examples of it in the real fight. What about the armor set itself though, which was teased briefly in both trailer and showcase, giving us a nice look at that wizard outfit on both male and female. I like the design. It's still inherently Chameleos, but with that glowing eye on the chest is a great representation of the Risen version, its own fire symbol that's on the chest. I wonder if this set will change at all, like when you're in combat, it'll glow orange at all or something like that. The major detail here though is obviously the fact that Risen actually have armor sets, as clearly confirmed visually here, but in the extra detail sections they specifically said new weapons and armor. I was expecting just the armor set, so if it is both, if it is risen weapons as well, there's going to be a lot of potential with that. Maybe double effects is going to be more of a relevant thing on weapons like double status, double element, or whatever. In the case of this weapon and Chameleos, surely it'll be poison and blast. I think it's cool when we see weapons that double up on effects, but it's rare that it's necessarily the best option, so I hope they're good. On the armor side of things, the new risen skills could be very interesting. Maybe it'll be tied to Risen Chameleos, or it'll be a new subsection of skills called Risen Skills. How will they work? Will there be strong combinations of skills we already know, or something entirely new? Just like the weapons, there's a lot of potential on the armor as well. But all that really matters to me is that what they do forms some new metas and hopefully new ways to play a weapon. Alright, so here's an interesting detail revealed in that showcase. The master rank requirement for Risen Chameleos is much higher than Update 1 monsters and other monsters in Update 2. If we look at the Update 1 monsters, they all required rank 10 to first hunt, whereas Risen Chameleos, well, it wants you to have master rank 110, which is a huge grind if you're not already up high or like already there. This suggests that future Risen monsters will be surely at least master rank 110 or even higher as we go. So that's something to think about now before the updates hit. Is this overly high? I don't think so. After all, our last monster in OG Sunbreak was Scorned Magnamallow, and that was master rank 100. So at this point in the life cycle of the game, I think it's fair to assume people actively playing, or those that played at launch, they'll be around this level already. That's more reasonable to me in concept, but less so for a brand new player trying the game late. A massive ask and a big grind for that type of person. But I still don't think that's a problem. That player has so much content, so much to do, so much to focus on before they worry about what was in update content. And by the time they get there, they'll be pretty damn close, I'm sure, especially with things like anomaly investigations now. What I do think is that this suggests the power level of risen monsters is going to be very high, and they're going to be the most dangerous type of monster in the game. If it's meant to be a higher level and therefore threat than, say, Scorned Magna, that would make sense. In any case, for future updates, it would seem that when they referenced powered up monsters, they were talking about risen monsters. So, excitingly on that new roadmap we're looking at today, powered up monsters is suggested, plural. That means we might be getting more than just one risen in update 3, and I have two in mind that would make a lot of sense for that. Teostra and Kushala. That would complete the classic Elder Dragon trio, much like that original update and original Rise, so I think that's a reasonable guess there as well. But here's a side note. What about Malzeno? As an Elder Dragon who's of the right level, will he get a risen version? Because if you think about it, Malzeno's basically the first risen monster. It works with the Curio from the beginning, and that's a major point of the story. So I guess the question was Malzeno actually an afflicted monster? Or was it a risen? Will there be another version of Malzeno in a future update? Bit of a strange thought. Lastly for this video then, a quick word on the concept itself and the community reaction to it. It seems that some people are a bit split on this. While plenty of people are going to be excited for the risen monsters, I have seen some people talk about how these are just arch-tempered monsters with extra details. And while yeah, it's clearly a repeat concept, but more like frenzy apexes than arch-tempered in my opinion, I do agree with that concept. The thing is, arch-tempered monsters were awesome, so more of that's a good thing in my opinion. They were worthy of their own focused updates with new movesets, much higher threat levels, new equipment. They were often the best version of a monster. So while yeah, maybe it's a similar concept renamed with a bit more added to it, I don't think that's bad. It's a steady progression for the series on a fun foundation. That's a good thing. Especially when they actually have their own armor sets, potential weapons, and meta-defining options, unlike Rise Apexes. But let me know what you think about that. Either way though, that's the video, my overview and discussion on risen monsters. Whether you view them as a new version of Arch-Tempered or Frenzy Apexes, I'm excited for them. Most of all, I'm glad there's going to be new equipment, whether that's just armor sets or weapons as well, and the potential power level and challenge considering the 110 master rank requirement. Let me know what you guys make of this though. For now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.